you've killed more than 2 people and less than 4.
It's no big surprise that Valve takes part of the blame for MVM being garbage as of late. The sheer lack of major MVM updates makes one think that Valve has forgotten about the game mode almost entirely. However, that's not quite true. The last remaining devs have made silent changes into the gameplay to guarantee that the game becomes way easier than it should be. But we'll get to that soon enough. To understand these bold claims, let's dive into the story of MVM. Enter May 5th, 2010. The engineer update teases man versus machine. People were speculating and data mining to figure out what the hot new thing planned for TF2's future was. Then bam! 2 years later in August, the update drops with 3 new maps, plethora of missions. And then, in the very same year, we get the Mecha update, featuring the NG-bot, brand new map, and a bunch of more missions. Then came the 2 Cities update, with 2 new maps, new golden weapons, and fun new things, like a shield for a medic. Also, you can revive teammates. And there's also God damn it, they threw balance out the fucking window, didn't they? Then again, the updates were pretty cool. MVM is one of those game modes that needs content to be pumped out quite frequently, since it's easy to figure out. It can get stale and repetitive. It can get quite stale when you play for only one setup for the rest of your life. Though that doesn't stop people from gambling for shiny pixels and Australians and looting crap. So what has Valve done as of late to try and keep MVM fresh and active since its last update in 2012? Absolutely fucking nothing! It gets worse than this. 2 Cities was marked as being a new tour for about 2 years after its release. Valve has been known for doing little to no bug testing in most cases. It's
not a big surprise
that if something is barely tested for PvP, it's gonna be just as broken, if not worse, for MVM. But don't worry, MVM has its fair share of unique and original bugs for people to enjoy.
I thought I had it all together, but I was led astray. The day you walked away, you were the clock that was ticking in my home. Changed my state of mind, love so hard to find. Your feelings changed like the weather, went from clear to gray. All that time of day, how can I go on without falling apart? Love so hard to find when someone's on the line. Listen, baby, your wish is my complaint. Baby, won't you understand that your wish is my complaint? Can I could make my baby understand?
Whoops! You may wonder why MVM is in this state of mismanagement. People have speculated over why MVM has been neglected as of late. Some say that the original dev team that worked on the development of MVM are now gone, and that therefore updates are impossible to do. Some say that Valve has changed priorities since MVM, so they'd rather fill their pockets with stuff like contracts and skins. The problem is that Valve does make changes to the base game, but does so by making it more accessible to newbies. Now, Valve has obviously done its best to balance both PvP and MVM, so tweaks and perks have to happen at some point. A game as large as TF2 is impossible to balance perfectly, or at least without keeping its pull factor intact. The problem is when you balance for a PvE game. Imagine you're playing something like Left 4 Dead, and since the beginning of the game, you and your team have all had M60s that help you out greatly. But then in every corner of the map, you can always find another M60, medkit, pills. I've lost you, haven't I? The point is, Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 relies on a balance with the items to make the game have a challenge. If you gave players everything they need, the game would just become too easy and ignored. It can go the other way around though, by removing the bare essentials and making it too frustrating to the point of rage quitting. In MVM, it's pretty much the similar case, except we're heading off the "it's so easy, it's boring" side of the scale. How come? Well, some examples include the medic upgrades to let new people play more recklessly, the overpowered stun in soldiers upgrades, the $50 bonus given to players for not reaching A+, and the inclusion of refunds into the... We'll get there. I promise. But I know what you're thinking. They're just bots. If the game is made easier, it's better. MVM is already easy. It's the same wave pattern every time, with a predictable route that lets you plan ahead for whatever comes up. Things like stuns, shields, and revives are already overkill for the core difficulty of the game. The devs, however, were smart enough to design all the missions to be done without them. Obviously, things like the shield are good in 2 cities because of the massive projectile spam, but the missions still give you enough leeway to clear it even without a shield. Does it make it any easier? No. Does it make it more fun? You bet your ass it does. Every smart game dev knows that if a game is too hard, the player might start to crack the game's exploits until they figure out the easiest way to win. Then the fun factor is removed, because what's the point on trying to figure out a strategy when you can just do one broken thing and win every time? Well, even with how easy the game already was, people somehow figured out a way to refund every time they wished due to an oversight in the team selection screen. The good thing is that Valve was quick to patch this, and now the exploit doesn't exist anymore. After all, Valve couldn't go as far as legitimizing a gameplay dumbing exploit, right? Oh, wait a minute.
They fucking did!